Okay, so you want to understand IKEA. Not the meatballs. Not the maze you get lost in on a Saturday afternoon. The actual business. The one that's been quietly out competing furniture retailers for 80 years, while everyone else just thinks it sells cheap couches. Here's the part that breaks people's brains. Almost nothing about IKEA is an accident. The packaging, the parking lot, the food, even who legally owns the company. None of it is furniture retail in the normal sense. It's financial engineering wearing a blue and yellow warehouse as a costume. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why IKEA works, and why the same model that made it untouchable for decades is now the thing putting a dent in its profits. In 1956, an IKEA employee was trying to fit a table into a car. It didn't fit, so he took the legs off. That's it. That's the whole origin story. But that one packaging decision restructured the entire business top to bottom. First, shipping. A flat box takes up a fraction of the space of an assembled piece of furniture. Pack more per truck, per container, per shipment, and the cost per unit drops before a single customer walks in the door. Second, storage. Warehouses built to hold flat boxes need less square footage than warehouses built to hold assembled furniture. Less space, lower rent, lower cost. Third, and this is the one competitors couldn't copy even when they understood it, labor. Someone has to assemble a table. IKEA decided that someone would be you. Think about what that actually means. Every other furniture retailer pays a worker to assemble the product before it reaches you. IKEA skips that cost entirely, and you don't even feel like you've been charged for it. You feel like you got a deal. That's the part that breaks people's brains. The savings from flat pack aren't a rounding error. They're stacked across shipping, storage, and labor simultaneously, and every one of those savings gets passed down into the sticker price, which is exactly what makes the sticker price so hard for anyone else to match. The flat box isn't packaging. It's the entire cost structure of the company, folded down to fit in your trunk. Okay, so you want to build a furniture empire. The obvious move is to put your stores where the customers already are, city centers, shopping districts, foot traffic. IKEA does the opposite. It builds on the outskirts, on cheap land, next to highways, far from anywhere you'd casually wander in. Why would you deliberately put your store where fewer people walk past it? Because IKEA isn't paying for foot traffic. It's paying for square footage, and it needs an enormous amount of it. A typical IKEA store runs around 300,000 square feet. That kind of footprint in a city center would cost a fortune. On the edge of town, it costs a fraction of that. Here's the trade the company is making. It gives up passive walk-in customers in exchange for cheap land, and it gets that land back tenfold in space. That space becomes the warehouse and the showroom at the same time. The same building doing both jobs, with no separate distribution center needed for the products on display. Then there's the layout. One path, one direction. You don't browse an IKEA, you're routed through it, past every department, whether you came in for a lamp or not. Cheap land bought the size. The layout turns the size into exposure. Everyone else builds a store and rents a warehouse. IKEA built one building that quietly does both, and put it where the rent is low enough that the math works. So, if you're the kind of person who wants to understand what's actually happening behind a business, not just what it looks like from the outside, subscribing means you won't miss the next one of these. Now we get to the part of IKEA everyone loves and almost nobody questions: the food. IKEA has a rule. Every store has to offer the cheapest meal within roughly 30 miles. Not competitive, cheapest. And here's the detail that matters. The company isn't trying to make money on that food. In plenty of cases, it's selling it at a loss. Why would a business intentionally lose money on something? Because a customer who has never bought a couch has no idea what a couch should cost. $600, good deal or bad deal? No way to know, but a full meal for $4? That everyone can price instantly. It's cheap. Obviously, unmistakably cheap. So the meatballs aren't really selling meatballs. They're selling a feeling. The feeling that this company is cheap, honest, no tricks, and that feeling gets carried unconsciously into every other price tag in the building. You can't evaluate the couch, but you just evaluated the meal, and it passed. So you trust the couch too. there's a second layer underneath that. A family that's tired and hungry leaves. A family that just ate a cheap, filling meal stays and keeps shopping. The food isn't a snack break from the shopping trip. It's an extension of it. The meatball isn't on the menu to make money. It's on the menu to keep you in the building and to make every other price in that building look honest by comparison. Here's the part that actually matters if you want to understand where the money goes. When you buy something at IKEA, you're not, technically, buying it from IKEA. The stores are run by a company called IKEA Group. IKEA Group operates the majority of IKEA locations worldwide. But the brand itself, the name, the logo, the store concept, the product range, the whole IKEA idea, that's owned by a completely separate company called IKEA Systems. And here's the mechanism. Every single IKEA store on Earth, including the ones run by IKEA Group itself, pays IKEA Systems a franchise fee of 3% of net sales, just for the right to use the name and the concept. 3% sounds small until you remember the scale it's applied to. IKEA retail sales came in at roughly 44.6 billion euros in its most recent financial year. 3% of a number that size, flowing upward every single year from every store, regardless of how that individual store performed. That's not a rounding error. That's a second business, sitting quietly on top of the first one. So the store you shopped in isn't really the business. It's a franchisee paying rent on an idea. The actual business, the one collecting money no matter which store you walked into, is the brand itself. Now here's the detail that actually breaks people's brains once they understand it. IKEA's parent structure isn't controlled by shareholders. It's controlled at the very top by a foundation. Inca Holding, the company that sits above IKEA Group, is wholly owned by something called the Stichting INGK Foundation, a Dutch foundation with no shareholders, no owner, and, on paper, a charitable purpose. Why would the world's largest furniture retailer be topped by something that looks like a charity? Two reasons, and founder Ingvar Kamprad was fairly open about both. First, protection. A foundation can't be bought out. There's no stock to acquire, so there's no hostile takeover to fear. Second, tax. A foundation structured this way is taxed very differently than a private company with shareholders collecting dividends. And the brand side of the business, IKEA Systems, the entity collecting that 3% on every sale worldwide, traces back through a separate structure to the Inarogo Foundation, based in Liechtenstein. Kamprad himself once described those reserves as the company's piggy bank. Here's the reframe. A normal company answers to shareholders who can vote out management if profits fall. A foundation with no shareholders answers to almost no one. No takeover risk, minimal outside pressure, and a tax bill that looks nothing like a conventional multinational's. The furniture was never the strangest part of IKEA. The ownership structure is, and it was built that way on purpose. So what does all of this actually add up to today? In its most recent financial year, IKEA Group, the arm that includes wholesale sales and franchise fees, reported total revenue of 26.3 billion euros, essentially flat against 26.5 billion the year before. Retail sales across the whole IKEA system came in around 44.6 billion euros, down slightly from 45.1 billion. Here's the number that actually matters. Net profit fell to 1.5 billion euros, down from 2.2 billion the year prior. That's not a small dip. That's a third of the company's profit disappearing in a single year. Why? Two forces hitting at once. First, tariffs, raising costs on a global supply chain built for decades around cheap, borderless sourcing. Second, IKEA's own affordability push. The company cut wholesale prices to its retailers by roughly 10%, specifically to keep customers walking through the door during a period when many of them are cutting back on spending. Which means the same model built to win on price is now the model absorbing the squeeze when costs rise. IKEA can't simply raise prices to protect margin. That would break the entire psychological promise the flat pack, the meatballs, and the low price image were built to sell in the first place. So instead, the company is eating the cost and letting profit take the hit. That's not weakness. That's a company protecting the one asset it can't afford to damage. The belief in every customer's head that IKEA is cheap. even if maintaining that belief costs the company a third of its profit to do it. So, a furniture store or a financial structure with a showroom bolted on the front. By now you know which one it actually is. The couches were never the business. The system underneath them always was. And that system, cheap land, a self-service model, a food court built to keep you inside, isn't unique to IKEA. There's another company running almost the exact same playbook, except instead of flat-pack furniture, it's built the entire model around a $1.50 hot dog and a membership fee you pay before you've bought a single thing. That's the economics of owning a Costco. And the mechanics underneath are even stranger than what you just watched.